Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And it's Wednesday, it's March 7th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And almost another week slipped by us here. Much better trading day today than yesterday. We had this big sell off right after the market reopened yesterday during the overnight. All this in the blue is during the overnight hours. From right across here to here is overnight. So this blue where it turns to white where the regular 8:30 Central Standard Time market opens. So just a couple of things to think about and understand so you know to look for this in the future. When the market um, the market closed right here, you may not be able to see that line. There's a line running down just to the left of that big red bar. And that line is the close from yesterday. So when the market closed yesterday and we don't open back up till right here at 8:30, then on the daily chart there's going to be a gap in there. In other words, market closed here and it opened down here. So generally the market will try to fill that gap pretty quickly. And notice what happened here. We traded up all the way up just enough to fill that gap. You can see there, right there, and we had a big sell-off. Now, we did bounce off that and start rallying up again, but that's pretty typical of what you expect. A lot of times the market will just take off again and the trend continues on. It's a retest of that breakout because we never tested that. There's the gap, and so prices kind of come back and reset and go from there. So just remember that. You'll see that a lot when the market closes here and opens down here at 8:30 the next day. The market will generally try to fill that gap. Um, Now people will tell me, I don't see a gap. I don't see a gap. Well, you can't see it here. Just remember that this little part from here to here won't be there on the daily chart. So you would close here and you open way down here. And this would be right underneath here. So you'd have a gap in there. So hopefully that makes sense and that's clear to people because that always seems to confuse a lot of people. But anyway, let's back out a little more. We'll talk about the trades. Not It's a little better trading day today than yesterday. We still had a little period in here where it was pretty difficult to find a trade, but not like yesterday. From 10 o'clock on yesterday, there just wasn't anything going on. So um, anyway, when I came in, we're trending up. It looks like a two-tiered channel. You haven't had this confirmed yet, but this midline's really in play pretty much up through there. This line's holding except for here. So this is the way I was playing it early on this morning. And also you want to use these short-term trend lines, but when I came in, I went ahead and drew all these other trend lines just so you kind of could see what was going on. But I usually start about 7 every morning. So when I came in, prices were in the process of working higher, and it just kind of had a break outside here. So notice this new low. You're moving up. You get a first entry short, a second entry short, and a nice bullish bar. I like going long there. Notice that you got um, plenty of room to get out before you get back up here. It's We tried to go lower twice. It's also a second entry long, counting off that new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. This is a nice setup. It's a quick, easy move. Couple of 3 points there, and then it turns and turns down right off that trend line. So you'd be looking for it to possibly turn down there, and that kind of verifies that that line is right there. Then we're moving down. You get a first entry long, it pushes on through the EMA. You get a second entry long, and we're kind of creeping down this little channel here. And so that's a failed second entry long. I like going short there. You got room to get out, but where are prices probably going? You got to figure prices are probably coming down to this trend line. That doesn't end up happening, but that's what you would expect right there. And you do get a close outside, move to a new low, and then you get a failure. So you probably want to go long right there. Um, Notice that we closed outside, we moved down, and then you get that little trap. And this is a higher low. It actually went lower first here, and then turns and goes out the other side. I like having a buy stop right above. Let me make this a little bigger. right above this bar. So when it went lower and turns and goes out the other side, you already got your, when this broke lower and starts climbing, this is how you do this. You anticipate, hey, if it breaks above there, it's going to be a failure. I'm going to put a buy stop right there and see what happens. And, it may trade up a little bit. Prices may trade up a little bit and then turn back down again. But if you don't get filled, just cancel your order and move on. But you would have got filled and look at it take off. That's because they got a bunch of shorts stacked up here on these moves down, and suddenly they all got to exit. And so that's a nice move up. I made this one green because we're not back to the trend line where you would expect it to go. We're still right there at the EMA, but you do have a break, a new leg, a move to a new low, and then that little fake out right there with a little bit of a trap. And you can tell that there were people on the wrong side because they all exit real quick. And so I like that one. There's a failed second entry short way up here, but you don't want to go long way up there. Not that far away from the EMA and all, because usually what it'll do is you'll get one more little jog up and then it turns down. It would have been enough to work, but your signal bar, this would have been your signal bar, and it didn't break above that. It makes a lower one here, and this one's pretty bearish, so it's not a very good setup anyway. But then it comes down and makes a lower low, and you get a first entry long. I still don't see a long there you want to take. And now we finally make a lower high here. And this is a failed, notice there's a pullback first entry, pullback second entry. There's a failed second entry short right here, but you hadn't really confirmed this trend line yet. And we're still all above the EMA. So I don't really like going short yet. I'm not crazy about going long right there. It would have worked. Again, it went lower and turned and went out the other side. So you could have considered going long there. I'm just not crazy about it. We're past due time for a correction, although we are at least back to the EMA. So you probably could argue for that one on the second entry. If you draw your trend line, though, that'll be another strike against it. You can see that trend line working down. That's the first close. And sure enough, we continue working lower. So I just really don't like that one. If you really draw your trend line, I'm going to go ahead and remove that because I just don't like it. I think you're taking a chance there. Even though it would have worked, you're taking a big chance. So now you get a second leg down. Try to go lower once, or you try to go higher once, try to go higher twice. It fails, but you don't get a break lower. But when it tries to go up one more time, I like going short there. That's a second entry short. It's a double test of that high right there. Everything's below the EMA, and we're probably headed down here. So nice easy scalp, nothing more. It comes back. There's another chance this is a double test there, it's right off that trend line. So you could probably argue for that one if you have enough room to get out. By this point, I'm thinking wait on a second entry, but you could argue for that one. It's a small bar. Well, I say small, it's not that small. It looks small compared to the other ones, but well, I'm trying to see how big the bar is, but it's not giving it to me for some reason. Anyway, and it actually went higher and turned and went lower. So you might consider going short there. So it's a lower high, and this was a second entry short, and then there's a lower high here. So you might consider that one. Plus, there's a failed break. Notice we're going sideways here, and it looks like there's a little failed break higher. So that's another reason to like that short. It's the first close outside this trend line, really. And then, of course, we bounce off here. Now you got a double test of this low. The trend is really up. We're really just going sideways. You can see how flat the EMA got. That's a second entry long. Bounce off that low. I like going long there just to try to get a scalp out of it. Then we turn down again here, but this was really close to the trend line. So I'm not crazy about entering there on that, or on entering short on that one right there. I think you would want to wait on a second entry, or that being that close. I just I don't think you want to take that one. It is a double top. It is bearish. but you really don't have enough. It looks like we've maybe gotten outside of the range here, even though it turns down. It's still, I think you want to skip that one. And look what happens. It comes back and it bounces off the trend line right here where you would expect. That's a key entry point. It's also off this low. Um, this would really be your signal bar, but you could use this one and on a break above it, and you still got to put your stop below this bar. So another tick lower there, I think, is what that is. And that turns out to be a nice move. Look how prices go from there. You probably don't get a runner on this one, unfortunately, but a lot of times this will pick up a runner. You get a higher low here, but it's right into that double top and that resistance. So I really think you got to skip it. Just wait and see if you get a better entry. And of course, we move on up, and now we're just kind of going sideways. Just stay out of that. Look what happens. We finally get a failed break lower. It bounces right off the EMA, a nice bullish bar. That's where you go long. And there's a double top here, so that's a first entry, second entry, so that's a second entry long. That's got all the earmarks of a fairly decent trade. And I'll show you this. This was leg one. So when we started higher there, look for a measured move. And that puts you up here. We didn't quite get there. Maybe later, but by that time, I would have moved on. I wouldn't be looking for a measured move. That's pretty close, but that tells you when we didn't quite get there, and if we start lower here, that's telling you something as well. So once we went higher here, and notice that's a new low, then first entry, there's a second entry short right there that fails, but we don't break higher to this bar. Then you've got another little dip down, so now you got a double test, and it bounces off the EMA. So I like going long there. That's a little bit sideways, but look how every one of these bars is closing closer to the top than the bottom. And look how many times we tried to go lower. We're probably going higher right there. And if you're looking for that measured move, you realize we probably got another leg up from after this first one. And we move on up. There's a little breakout pullback long right there, but that bar's too neutral, and you're going long right into a double top. So you got to skip it. And we push up and we turn down. You get a first entry long, pull back second entry long, it fails. I like going short below this bar. Of course, your stop has to go above this one. So you got plenty of room to get out before this low, and really plenty to get out before here. And you'd expect two legs down there. This would probably be your second leg back to the trend line. But notice how I marked this. Another thing to notice here is this is a repeat pattern. This looks just like this. You got a little first entry, second entry, it fails. A little first entry, it looks just like that. Not only that, there's another one back here early in the overnight session. Pull back first entry, pull back second. So they look very similar. This happened 3 times, and if you notice that, if a pattern works once and you see it a couple more times during the day, it's probably going to do the same thing. And so I like going short. Where was I? We were short. Oh, right here. So I like going short right there. And this one takes off. You get a failed second entry long right here. Actually, this was really your failed second entry long, but that's really one leg, then a correction, and then the second leg. So on a bigger picture, that's also a failed second entry long. But the most important thing is it confirms your trend line. It turns down off the EMA. It actually goes higher and then turns and goes out the other side. Look how bearish that is. I like having your sell stop right there when it starts going down in case it goes out. But you could actually let it break lower here, or put a sell stop there, or maybe let it break lower and drop your limit order a little higher. The problem is we just came off the top and we're not quite to the low, and there's not a lot of room there, but you would expect that to work. Confirming the trend line off a key entry point, because that's where your big moves happen. And you notice we finally got a nice little move down too. Then we overshoot the trend line, we reverse. I don't see any reason to go long here. There's a trend line working there, or you might have even drawn it. I actually think it's looks better right here. If you draw that and drag it over, you can see it fits nicely on the other side. So the problem here, I don't think you want to be going long simply because that's the first. We did get an overshoot, so it could be a reversal. And you may argue this looks like a reversal pattern. So if you took that one, I'm okay with it. It easily works. It is a reversal type pattern. It is a failed second entry short. So if you took that one, I'm okay with it. But I didn't like marking it just for the fact that we've had that break. And this may be just one leg down, and we may get another measured leg down like it after a little bit of a correction. I'd want to see a little more action, but it fits our rules. So if you took it, that's fine. Then of course now we turn down right here. I actually put the line over that one. It's actually this one. Notice how you got that bearish bar right there. You probably wouldn't have had this trend line yet, so you can't go by the trend line. But then it tries to go higher, fails, and then you open right there another step lower, and it turns down real bearish. I like going short here. It's a really big bar, so you might let it break lower and drop a limit order, and you could have gotten filled way back up into this bar. Basically one tick below the original one. So I like entering it that way. And you don't know that the bottom's going to fall out of it like that. You're just trying to get a scalp, maybe another leg down. But look at that thing go. That turned out to be the trade of the day almost. So it just takes off and it just keeps going. You get a little pull back here, and it's still inside there, but you're right near that low. It's a first entry. A lot of reasons just to say, I'm not going to risk it. And then it pushes on down. It finally bounces where you would think it does. It actually pushes through it a little bit, and it gives it one more push down. There's enough room to get out here, but with that overshoot and the fact that, it's a first entry, I'm not crazy about that one. So I didn't mark it. And then, of course, we start bouncing here, but I'm not crazy about going long. I don't notice that there's a new low and a first entry and a second entry that fails, but we're still way below the EMA. And so, I'm worried that maybe this is a two-tiered channel, and I think you need to be concerned about that. So, so you want to see a little better setup than that. It tries to go lower again, but then you don't get a very good signal bar. And so it finally pushes up and comes back and touches the trend line again, and now you get a decent signal bar. But it's really big. It's a first entry. There's actually a hidden second entry. Notice prices go down, trade up, and then trade back down. If you went to a smaller chart, you'd see two legs there and a second entry. So that's what you call a hidden second entry. But I'm just not crazy about it. This thing is not really taking off. We're just kind of jogging along. You're making higher highs and higher lows, but there's nothing very exciting about it. So then it pushes up, gives an overshoot, tries to go higher again, and turns down right off that trend line and confirms it. Now you got a confirmation of that trend line. This is a really big bar though. And I don't believe I'd go short below that one. But what you might do is when this closes, I would wait for it to break lower and then try a limit order. And so this would have been hard to get in. This one never broke lower, even though it came all the way back. So you might have tried to get filled on that one, but I really want to see that break lower, which came here, and then it traded back up in here. And you might have gotten filled a tick or two, but then you don't have much room to get out, although you did have an overshoot up here, so you may get an overshoot on this side. And if this trend line's in play, you may take off again. So, but as you can see, it moves down, and then before you know it, it's going the other way. There's no longs in here. There's a higher low here, very bearish bar, and you don't know what it's going to do with this trend line, but it just takes off. And so that's one you just have to watch go without you. And you kind of pull back here, and you just go into this. This is where a place where it's hard to know what's really happening here. Just stay out and see what happens. If we do start going higher, I would look for a measured move like so. And that puts you back up in here. That's how we finally push up. And you make a new high here, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And this is going sideways too. It's a little failed break lower and a second entry long right off the EMA. It's a pullback to retest of that breakout area. So I like that one. You get 2 legs up and then it comes back, and this needs to be a little higher there. And it touches that trend line, tries to go lower again. You'd have there's a little correction right there. Close outside, tries to go lower again, stays inside that trend line. So that really confirms it. I like going long right there. That's a form of a second entry. It's not a perfect second entry long, but it's close enough. And that's right into the 2 o'clock hour. And look at it go again. Another key entry point. And that's when it got confirmed. And notice that's when the big move happens. If you tried to enter here thinking, hey, I'm going to sneak in, it would have worked. But you can tell the smart traders waited till it confirmed it and gave you a pretty good setup. And then look at it go. And that got you into the 2 o'clock hour. So it was still a little slow in the afternoon today, but not quite as bad as yesterday. You can see it didn't slow down really till about almost 11 o'clock today. And then it was slow in between there until 1 o'clock. You had a couple more trades. And there's some other ones you could argue here. You could argue this was a failed second entry short right here because there's a low, first entry, second entry. But in all that sideways stuff, I just think you're better off to stay out with that. That's why I marked it in the burgundy color, the purple color there. That generally means you're better off just to stay out because it's hard to read. And you're not sure, it's hard to be sure what prices are going to do right there. So that's what I saw today. Really, you could look at this. You got a 2-tier channel working up. You get a break, move to a new high. And, you know, there's a couple legs up there. You got 1 leg up, a little correction, then a little, I don't know what you'd call that, and then another leg up. But this is really at least 2 legs up. You probably call that 3 legs. It's really like 1 leg, pull back, second leg, pull back, and 3 legs. So there's more than enough correction to make a new high, and then it's kind of, like I said, it's been selling off ever since. Now you got 2 legs back, could go higher again. We'll see. The market will do weird stuff in the overnight that it won't do. It's mainly because the volume is thinner and it's easier to move it, and somebody has a big sell or a big buy, it'll make the market go crazy and move quite a bit because the market's just thinner. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. That's going to do it for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow and wrap up our week, but I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.